In this Rabbitry Yarns video, we are going to show you how to take this single. It's a blend of merino wool, angora rabbit fiber, and silk. We're going to show you how to take this single and turn it into a 3-ply of yarn. Hi, I'm Stephanie from Rabbitry Yarns, and I'm going to be plying up this yarn today using the chain ply method. It has been called the Navajo ply method. I usually call it the chain ply method. Let's get started. The wheel that we're using for this video is the Ashford Elizabeth II. This is a wheel that actually has quite a large wheel, and it is more of a production wheel. It is really designed for spinning thinner, consistent, traditional yarns. Some things to know before we get started. I switched out the bobbins for a new bobbin. You don't need a ball winder, you don't need any other tool besides your spinning wheel and a fresh bobbin. You don't even need to use a lazy cape. This is a lazy cape. It holds 3 bobbins of yarn. They come in all sorts of different styles. Some of them are standing up straight. You don't need one. You can literally just take a fresh bobbin and put that bobbin in a bowl. It's going to be a little bit more complicated in swinging around when you're spinning the yarn, but it might get tangled on itself, but this is simply a luxury that isn't actually necessary for doing this. This is the more up-close view. We have our leader line right here. We have the start of the line on the bobbin, and I'm just going to tie a knot. Now, to be honest, sometimes, depending on where I tie this knot, sometimes this breaks. That's fine. I just tie it back on. It's ready to start spinning. I keep saying spinning, but it's plying. It's ready to start plying. So we'll adjust our twist after we start plying. You want to ply your wheel in the opposite direction. Spin it in the opposite direction of what you actually spun the yarn. We're at the spinning wheel. When I spun this yarn, I spun it with the wheel going in this direction. Because I'm plying it, I now want the wheel to go in the opposite direction. So I get it started, and what I need to do is create a bit of a loop with the yarn. So I take my yarn and I put the top up top, and it grabs on, creates this loop, and I pull the yarn through. Then another loop, and pull the yarn through. Another loop. As I'm creating these loops, you can see as I'm pulling the yarn through, it is creating a 3-ply of yarn. Let's show you this a little bit closer. So in this view, it's the same thing. We're creating this loop right here, pulling that single through. Create the loop, pull the single through. It is twisting up here, and the twist travels all the way down, and you just keep repeating this process for chain plying. When you find yourself in a situation where the bobbin is getting full on one side, you do need to take your yarn and move it to the next hook. These hooks tell the yarn where to be fed onto the bobbin. As you can see, based on the speed of the bobbin, there is no way to move the yarn from one hook to the other without actually stopping what you're doing. The flyer itself is moving too fast. The advantages of chain plying are that you need less tools. So there's less expense starting out if you want to make a 3-ply yarn and you don't have enough bobbins. If you don't have a ball winder to make a center pull ball, if you don't have a lazy Kate, that's all okay. You can still make a 3-ply yarn. Another advantage is when you're trying to make yarns with colors that stay together. When you are using the chain ply method, the parts of the yarn block together to keep the color more isolated. If you were to take this single and if you were to have 2 additional singles, you may not get the same color pooling that you have with the use of chain plying. Chain plying also is something that can quickly use up a single that perhaps is an odd length or an odd amount of weight. So you can take a single and instead of needing to spin 1, 2, or 3 more singles, you can take that single and you can turn it into that 3-ply without needing more fiber. Sometimes when you're plying fibers that have been dyed, you may notice a little bit of the dye that has been left on the fiber transferring off to your hands. This is okay. In this particular case, there's a little bit of purple that is transferring off onto my fingers. All of this will wash off. Be careful when you're spinning on the clothes you're wearing. If the dye is transferring to your hands, it means it can also transfer to your clothes. In this particular case, I'm wearing my mom jeans and I've stolen my daughter's shirt. When looking at the color of this yarn, you can very clearly tell where one chain ended and the other began, right here. If you pay close attention, you'll be able to see, once the camera focuses in, you'll be able to see a very clear difference between purple and more of a lighter color, white. done plying your yarn, take your niddy noddy, and it is time to remove your yarn. The niddy noddy that we use is a Kromsky. And this particular niddy noddy, if I hold the yarn correctly, this particular niddy noddy makes a 2-yard loop. So you take and you put the yarn on the niddy noddy. Each time you wrap that piece of yarn around, you're adding 2 yards of yarn. When you've come to the end of the line, you can simply separate your joined on yarn. You can use the scissors or you can pull it. I take my yarn temporarily and create a knot around the spun fiber. This isn't going to be the finished knot. So there's the first one secured, and then we're going to turn it around and secure the second one. So you have created your yarn now. The final thing in the final test is taking your yarn off your niddy noddy. This particular niddy noddy has a side that has a little bump and a side that's very smooth. Take your yarn off using the smooth side. And now we have the final test. I'm holding it with my bottom finger and I'm holding it with my top finger. I'm going to let my bottom finger go. If your yarn just sits there like this, you have spun a perfectly balanced yarn. If your yarn starts spinning back on itself like this, and you end up with a twist up bit of yarn, your yarn has been overspun. Thank you for watching.